So when we go to the best line of the debate, normally we give it to whoever scored the best political points. In this case, I'm going to go a little different. We're going to go to clip 5 here in a second. Now, for political points, maybe Cruz still with that line about Trump being, pro-abortion in the 1990s, as they would say, and how he gave to John Kerry and Harry Reid. And if I had done that, it would have probably ended my career. And yeah, those are fair points and probably scores good political points. But for a change, I wanted to give best line in the debate for the Republicans for a line that was actually substantively good, right? So which almost never happens. So since it's unprecedented, I wanted to reward it. Let's watch.
So let me begin by saying very clearly, I know for a fact that the overwhelming majority of the men and women who serve us in law enforcement are incredible people who every single day put their lives potentially on the line for our safety and for our security. But I also know that there are communities in this country where minority communities and the police department have a terrible relationship. I personally know someone who happens to be a police officer and a young African-American male who told me that he's been pulled over 7, 8 times in the last few years and never gets a ticket. What is he supposed to think? He gets pulled over for no reason, never gets a ticket, no one has any explanation for why he's being pulled over. What is he supposed to think? So I also know that in this country there is a significant number, particularly of young African-American males, who feel as if they're treated differently than the rest of society. And here's the bottom line, whether you agree with them or not, I happen to have seen this happen, but whether you agree with them or not, if a significant percentage of the American family believes that they are being treated differently than everyone else, we have a problem. And we have to address it as a society and as a country, because I do not believe we can fulfill our potential as a nation unless we address that. I'm not sure there's a political solution to that problem.
So don't worry, I'm not going to do anything about it. Okay. But for a second there, or for almost a full minute, he was actually a decent human being. I mean, that is unprecedented.
Yeah.
So you got to give him that.
Well, and it's 2 levels of being a decent human being. It's one thing to say, I know that there are concerns out there, communities have problems and all that. But telling the story, and we hate when they tell stories, but telling the story about his friend who's just randomly been pulled over and over and over. I know, I come from Bridgeport, Connecticut. I know a bunch of people that happened to, it still happens to all the time. Never happened to me, suspiciously, even though I went to the same school, grew up in the same place. I did not get randomly pulled over all the time. But my friend Tremaine, last time I saw him, it was literally the first thing he said to me when we met up, was that he had just been pulled over. And so to be able to say, not just hypothetically, but I know examples, and to try to explain to a Republican audience how this is really happening, I think was more than we perhaps even should have expected from him. Yeah. But again, nothing will be done by the government.
Right. Now, as we give him that compliment, I begin to wonder if we were right that he won the debate.
Oh, no.
The Republicans might look at that and go, that is not nearly vicious enough.
Yeah.
Especially in South Carolina.
That's a good point.
Remember, over 70% of Donald Trump's supporters say that the Confederate flag should still be flying over the Capitol.
Yeah. Those people might not care about the driving while black thing. I would give runner-up to perhaps Ted Cruz's line about Trump suing him and how you're never too far from the Donald Trump lawsuit, which is a good little funny line. Yes. But obviously Marco Rubio's blows it out of the water.
It's both a good line and at the same time, it is true. It does damage to Donald Trump because suing seems weak and it seems like a liberal thing to do. So at that point, Cruz scores in a couple of different ways.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're just scoring it politically, Cruz probably had the better lines. But I wanted to give Rubio credit for an actually good point made.